All right, you were listening to Pope Francis at the Festival of Families in Philadelphia, a passionate speech. You didn't have to understand the language to know that he was genuine, that he believed in what he was saying, and from the translation, what we had as the speech that was embargoed, he didn't use. Is that correct?
He used the first two lines, "Good evening, families." That's what he said, and the rest was off the cuff. You have just seen Bergoglio, classic Francis, preach one of his homilies that he's so well noted for. It was an astounding homily that encompassed the entire thought of creation, the whole message of creation, spontaneous, off the cuff, passionate. It was really astounding to see this.
And how he tied in the issue of families to the beginning of creation.
Yeah.
I mean,
God gives the creation to the family. Now, remember this too. This is the end of his entire week. And the most energetic, this is going to be talked about across the media tomorrow, tonight. That he summoned all of this energy because he was there with the people, as we were talking earlier.
He feeds off of the people.
Yes,
he gets energy from the crowd. It's clear. He also talks about the fact that Jesus was born into the family, and you knock on the door of families, and he says, as you say, there is always light and resurrection after whatever dissension the devil brings.
He encapsulated in this homily, which is maybe 20 minutes, this talk, the entire story of creation, the history of the world, the creation of the world, sin, the devil, the incarnation, which is the family, and the resurrection from the dead, and wrapped it all in the family, which he called the factory of hope. This is an incredible tour de force. His Holiness, I think the reason he is such a unifying force, Bill, as you're pointing out, is that he doesn't come at things through the political lens. He comes at it through the lens of the dignity of the human person and through a theology of love. You know, the theme that animated his whole homily tonight was goodness, truth, and beauty, which is the classic categories of virtue that you find in Aristotle and in St. Thomas Aquinas. And he just built this whole panoramic vision of what the world could look like through the lens of the family.
But he started as a parish priest.
Yes, let's see. Yeah, I think he taught in high school first. And then he was in a parish, yes.
And yet, I mean, he is, everything that he speaks of is so sophisticated. It is so, not just passionate as what you would expect, but he's a theologian.
Brilliant theologian. Well, I was in Buenos Aires a year ago, and I just stopped in a jewelry store because I saw there was a beautiful chalice. I walked in, and the guy begins to tell me this whole story about being a friend of Bergoglio. And he showed me, I'm sorry, Father Bergoglio, at the time, he was the Pope. And he showed me pictures of him in the store. He said, this man has been so wonderful, and he made this chalice in honor of the Pope. So if I was able to spontaneously bump into a person in Buenos Aires, you know the kind of houses that he's been in.
And his whole visit here has been a positive one. And I think a lot of people fear that, you know, climate change and issues that we're not that, you know, we don't consider religious, but he has managed, I think, to get all of us to come to his side.
My main concern is that he was going to be overly politicized and dragged left and right, and he's transcended.
Some of the media tried to do that, but I think
we're going to be right back with much more on the Pope's visit. Father, what are your final thoughts on this, Father Sirico?
Well, I'm still taken by this spontaneous homily. No notes. We threw out the embargoed.
The speech was not the speech.
This whole thing was very well crafted, right from Mark Wahlberg, who is one of Hollywood's greatest stars, to Bocelli, who himself, his mother, was recommended to have had an abortion because of an appendix problem during her pregnancy. She didn't, and he has a beautiful take on that.
And he sang the Our Father, beautiful.